Africans are tired of colonial masters, but they don't want to go back to their country. The youth no longer accept orders after they have realized they are being exploited.
Angry protesters targeted the French embassy in Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou, for a second day in a row, setting fire to barriers and throwing stones at the building.
This is what transpired when news of France's return spread around the streets of Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. They made a strong statement by burning French flags and chanting, "We don't want France in our country." Will France stay in Africa after all this? Or are we ready to see the expulsion of a colonial overlord from Burkina Faso? Let's investigate. Supporters of President Ibrahim Traoré are assembling in the streets of Ouagadougou, brimming with anger about the French return to Burkina Faso. The intense animosity between the nation of West Africa and its erstwhile colonial overlord, France, is brought to light by this assembly. It also brings up significant issues regarding the safety and independence of Burkina Faso in the future. The tensions in the relationship between Burkina Faso and France are well known. There's fire at the French embassy. There has been a noticeable change in the last few years, with Burkinabés becoming increasingly dissatisfied with French meddling in their internal affairs. The result of this was France's exit from Burkina Faso, which many saw as a step toward full independence. Traoré was the catalyst for it all. Public indignation now surrounds France's comeback under Traoré's leadership. Burkina Faso's ascent to power under President Ibrahim Traoré signaled a dramatic break from the status quo. Often seen as a man of the people, Traoré has given the West African nation's governance a new outlook. His strong dedication to openness, responsibility, and the well-being of the Burkinabe people defines his leadership style. Recall that Burkina Faso loves Traoré, but France is his enemy, and they despise him. When people are under hardship, they come for their beloved leader Traoré as well as for their future. And why does that stand the test? What did Traoré do that they prioritize him? Africans are ready for their freedom than ever before. They know all terrorism, all jihadism, and all suffering will cease with Traoré. It's obvious we all want the liberation of Africa, so please do not forget to add your voice in the comments section below, and also subscribe to this channel. Now let's continue. There isn't any hyperbole in anything that Traoré accomplished. Traoré's leadership style has been distinguished by his approach to economic policy. Realizing the importance of sustainable growth, Traoré has made infrastructure, education, and agriculture his top priorities. A number of initiatives aimed at promoting economic expansion and job creation have been put into place by his government. Traoré has started a number of programs in the agriculture sector with the goal of increasing productivity and helping small-scale farmers. These consist of investments in cutting-edge farming equipment, training programs for farmers, and subsidies for agricultural inputs. As a result, agricultural productivity in Burkina Faso has significantly increased, promoting both economic stability and food security. Another major area of concentration for Traoré's administration has been education. He has made significant investments in the construction of new schools, enhanced teacher preparation programs, and expanded educational opportunities for girls and marginalized areas because he recognizes that education is a key factor in growth. Across the nation, literacy rates and educational achievements have significantly improved as a result of these efforts. Burkina Faso has started an extensive program of infrastructure development under Traoré's direction. In order to improve connectivity and promote economic activity, new roads, bridges, and public transportation systems are being built. Notably, the development of renewable energy sources has also been given top priority by his administration. Acknowledging the role that sustainable energy plays in promoting long-term growth, a major undertaking during Traoré's leadership has been building a new international airport in Ouagadougou. The nation's economy is anticipated to benefit greatly from the increased trade and tourism that this cutting-edge facility is predicted to bring about. In addition, the growth of new business parks and industrial zones is drawing in foreign capital and opening up new markets for regional companies. Traoré's steadfast dedication to combating corruption has been a fundamental component of his administration. He has proposed a number of severe anti-corruption initiatives, including as the creation of an impartial anti-corruption commission and the imposition of rigorous accountability and transparency requirements for public servants. The public's confidence in the government has been restored and corruption levels have significantly decreased as a result of these initiatives. Additionally, the Traoré administration has taken the initiative to advance good governance. This includes working to make government institutions more responsive to the interests of the populace, strengthen the rule of law, and improve the effectiveness of the judicial system. Public servants are held to the highest ethical standards in Traoré's atmosphere because of her promotion of accountability and transparency. Traoré's emphasis on social welfare and healthcare has also been a defining characteristic of his leadership. Acknowledging the significance of a well-informed and robust citizenry, he has instituted several initiatives with the goal of enhancing healthcare accessibility and caliber. These include building new clinics and hospitals, spending money on medical education and supplies, and implementing universal healthcare. The noteworthy accomplishment of the Traoré administration has been the noteworthy decline in the rates of maternal and infant mortality. Burkina Faso has made significant strides toward enhancing the health of its people through focused measures such as enhanced prenatal and postnatal care, immunization campaigns, and nutritional support for moms and kids. Traoré has additionally demonstrated a great dedication to environmental preservation. Recognizing the need of safeguarding natural resources for future generations, his administration has put laws in place to support biodiversity preservation, encourage sustainable land use, and lessen the effects of climate change. These initiatives consist of investments in renewable energy projects, the promotion of sustainable agriculture methods, and forestry campaigns. As a result of Traoré's dedication to environmental preservation, Burkina Faso is now known across the world as a pioneer in sustainable development. He has created a model for other African countries to imitate by striking a balance between environmental preservation and economic expansion. Finally, young empowerment. Well, the list goes on, but we'll stop here. One of Traoré's main pillars of leadership has been empowering women and young people. Seeing that young people can be change agents, he has established programs to give them the tools, resources, and opportunities they need to succeed. This includes the establishment of youth development centers, support for entrepreneurship, and programs for vocational training. Traoré has also been a steadfast supporter of women's empowerment and gender equality. Policies aiming at expanding women's participation in business, politics, and society at large have been enacted under his administration. This encompasses actions to prevent discrimination and violence against women based on their gender, as well as initiatives to provide equal access to economic, medical, and educational opportunities for women. And now the homeless demonstrate that he has encouraged others to lift their voices against injustice. The question now is, how did the latest commotion begin? With the resumption of French rule in the nation, the recent return of France to Burkina Faso has caused great controversy and anxiety among the Burkina, provoking large-scale demonstrations and raising concerns about the implications for the country's sovereignty, security, and future course. France was always accepted in the past, but not anymore. Burkina Faso has seen a discernible shift away from French influence in recent years. Growing dissatisfaction among the populace, who saw French engagement as a type of neo-colonialism impeding the nation's advancement and self-determination, was the driving force behind this transformation. Events like the 2014 rebellion that overthrew longtime President Blaise Compaoré, a figure closely aligned with France, served to amplify this attitude. Under the direction of President Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso set out to become a more independent nation by reducing its dependency on France and broadening its foreign alliances. This involved putting policies in place targeted at boosting internal economic growth and development, as well as fortifying ties with other countries and regional organizations. However, why did France go back? Officially, the French government has stated that it is necessary to deal with risks to regional security, especially the increasing power of armed organizations in the Sahel. The justification for the withdrawal of French troops and diplomats is that doing so is essential to helping Burkina Faso fight terrorism and maintain regional security. But behind the surface, there are more significant economic and geopolitical factors at work. France possesses substantial financial stakes in Burkina Faso, particularly in the mining industry, where French enterprises engage in the procurement of precious minerals like gold and manganese. One could interpret France's return as an attempt to protect these investments and preserve its economic clout in the area. Furthermore, France's comeback is a component of a larger plan to regain power in West Africa, a region in which it has traditionally held a leading position. This action is perceived as a reaction to the growing influence of other superpowers, including China and Russia, who have been extending their diplomatic and economic reaches throughout Africa. The public's response is now forthcoming. Will people accept the illogical justifications? The people of Burkina Faso have voiced strong objections and protests against the re-establishment of French rule. The return of France is seen by many as a reminder of the country's colonial past and an assault to their national sovereignty. Large-scale crowds of protesters have characterized the events, and they have been displaying Russian and national flags as well as placards with messages like "Down with Macron" and "We are a sovereign people." The French embassy is located in Ouagadougou, where there have been very strong protests. Because of the embassy's close proximity to the presidential palace, protesters have called for its relocation, citing serious security risks. The idea behind this opinion is that the safety and independence of the transitional authorities, President Ibrahim Traoré among them, are compromised by the French presence. The military and government of Burkina Faso have handled the protests with a combination of strength and restraint. The government has stressed the significance of upholding peace and order, even as it has conceded that some of the demonstrators' complaints are valid. Security personnel have been sent in to oversee and guarantee the peaceful conduct of the protests. In order to resolve the controversial matters, the government has concurrently held diplomatic discussions with French officials. The goal of these talks has been to come up with a compromise that respects Burkina Faso's sovereignty while balancing the necessity for security cooperation. Although the conclusion of these negotiations is yet unknown, they highlight the intricate relationships that are involved. France will not be able to stay, to start with. Let's just suppose that it does. What would be the economic impact on Burkina Faso? Burkina Faso will be significantly impacted both socially and economically by France's return. On the one hand, infrastructure projects and economic development might benefit from French aid contributions, promoting stability and progress. However, worries about the long-term effects on the nation's independence and growth are raised by the impression of outside meddling and the possibility of abusive activities. Deeper social and political problems are also brought to light by the protests and public unhappiness. The Burkinabe people are rejecting perceived neo-colonial influences and expressing a desire for more control over their own fate. This opinion is representative of larger patterns across Africa, where there is a re-evaluation of ties with former colonial powers and an increasing call for self-determination. International and regional actors have taken notice of the situation in Burkina Faso and have responded accordingly. The changes are being closely observed by neighboring countries and regional organizations, including the African Union and ECOWAS. These organizations may be involved in mediating the disputes between Burkina Faso and France since they have a stake in maintaining regional stability. Global media has covered France's return and the protests that followed in great detail, bringing attention to the more general problems with foreign influence and neocolonialism in Africa. Due to their own interests and strategic considerations in the region, the responses of other superpowers like the US, China, and Russia also reflect the complexity of the geopolitical environment. In the long run, the ongoing demonstrations and France's return to Burkina Faso will probably have a significant impact on the political and social climate of the nation. The future of Burkina Faso's relationship with France and its broader foreign policy orientation will be significantly shaped by the settlement of the current issues. There might be pressure on the administration to prioritize national sovereignty and adopt a more forceful stance against foreign influence if the protests and popular opposition persist. This may result in additional policy changes and reorganizations of Burkina Faso's foreign alliances. On the other hand, a diplomatic solution that takes into account the worries of both sides can open the door to a more amicable and advantageous partnership between France and Burkina Faso. Careful discussion and a dedication to upholding Burkina Faso's sovereignty and development goals would be necessary for such a result. This is a rather significant query. What does the psychology of the people of Burkina Faso reveal about this protest? How could they have responded like that? In the past, they have accepted everything. Why this reaction right now? The declaration of the restoration of French diplomatic and potentially military presence served as the immediate impetus for the protests, as it was perceived by many as a reassertion of neo-colonial power. These concerns were exacerbated by the French embassy's closeness to the presidential palace, which was seen as a blatant sign of French influence overreach into Burkina Faso's governance. A wide range of people from society, including students, activists, nationalist organizations, and regular people, have participated in the protests. The National Coordination of Citizens Watch Associations is one of the main groups. It has spearheaded multiple protests and has been outspoken in advocating for increased national sovereignty. Important personalities have surfaced within the movement. Many people have found resonance in his speeches and interviews, which express the hopes and anxieties of a public weary of outside meddling. Hugo Lanco is another prominent person whose in-depth reports of his encounters with the French embassy have brought attention to the demands and experiences of the demonstrators. The protests have employed strong and purposeful symbolism. Carrying national flags highlights the protesters' demand for independence and sovereignty. What's remarkable is that among the protesters were Russian flags, representing a wish to form new coalitions and a break from conventional Western influences. Peaceful marches, sit-ins, and symbolic actions like planting trees around protest locations to represent growth and a fresh start have all been used as protest strategies. The protest organizers, who prioritize nonviolence and orderliness in order to win larger public support and worldwide compassion, have taken delight in the march's disciplined demeanor. The everyday existence of Ouagadougou has been profoundly affected by the protests. Companies in the vicinity of the presidential palace and the French embassy have had to adapt to the ongoing presence of protesters and security guards. Due to this interruption, there have been temporary closures and traffic reroutes in certain locations, which has disrupted trade and mobility. The citizens maintain a sense of purpose and unity in spite of these inconveniences. Many locals back the protests because they see them as an essential step in regaining the independence and dignity of their country. Even in the face of obstacles, the movement's impetus has been maintained by this broad support. This demonstrates that the populace is unwilling to tolerate slavery at all costs. We also oppose modern slavery that is justified by the need to defend Africa. Will they ever be allowed to live in Africa without the consent of the natives? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications bell for more informative videos like this one. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.